We just talked,
Well,
so I feel like...
yeah, we just talked. So this is kind of a special episode. And the reason we're doing this on a late night here is because our guest is on the West Coast. And I think he's a really interesting guest. His name is Aaron Mattis. And he is an audio engineer. I was thinking today of how I wanted to like phrase who he is. Because audio engineers it's not the sexy job, right? No casual listener knows who you are. And I was actually thinking today that maybe the artists don't even know who he is. Because if you're in a big, like Universal or Atlantic Records, like the record might be recorded somewhere, then they give it to the engineer, and then they give it to the mastering guy. And the artist might not have any idea. And that's something I wanted to talk to him about. But Aaron, I think he's probably in the top 1% of audio engineers in the world. I was really trying to think about it. I really think that's an easy statement. He's done hundreds of records. I was just going over it with James. Let's give the list of just who he's worked with recently. He has worked with ASAP Rocky, Super Duper Kyle, that guy, St. John, Brian Manuel, Rich Brian, whoever that is. He's got 4 million followers on Instagram. Labyrinth, who does one of my favorite well-written songs of all time, Jealous. That is such a fucking good song. Go listen to Jealous by Labyrinth if you're not having a good day. He's also done mixing for Max, that guy who out of New York. You might recognize him, but he's also done Hunter Hayes, Lauv. So long story short, this guy has done a lot of mixing for a lot of different artists. And I think it's really worth it for our audience for us to get together here tonight and see what he has to say and see what kind of tips he can offer on if you're mixing your records at home. And I want to see, like, not necessarily his sales pitch, but like what is the difference between like doing it at your house and going to a nice studio? Like, what is in that $300, whatever? Like, and I'm interested to hear, because I almost view engineers as like mechanics of a car. Like, yeah, I can see if the car is nice and if I like driving the car, but I don't know what made it run smoothly. I don't know what makes the turbo work. I just know it has one. He's kind of doing the things under the hood. And I want to hear his take on, like, if engineers or if musicians, is it worth skipping that step to save what nowadays is affordable? Like, he's one of the best engineers in the world. And when I was working, he and I did maybe 20 songs together. And like, for those who don't know, I was a musician for a while, and like, my music is okay, but I really like the process and like learning how to market it and learning these things from Aaron. So like, when I worked with Aaron, I used to do my own mixing and recording from home, and it would sound okay. And like, I know we were talking about this the last episode with Brody. He was the engineer I was referring to when I was like, oh yeah, the first time I went to a professional engineer and really saw what he was doing, even if it was only to save time. This guy had every shortcut imaginable down. He was like a wizard. He knew exactly what he wanted to do with it. And he made it sound good. So not only did he save time, but he made the quality sound so much better. And it was one of those things where immediately I was like, wow, this guy knows what he's doing. Because I thought I knew what I was doing. Then this guy, I was like, oh shit. He really knows what he's doing.
He's the type of guy that we tell people, like, look, go to a professional. There's a difference. And even if you guys don't think there is, working with someone like him or another guest we'll bring on eventually, Landis, for example, working with someone like them compared to just using one of those auto master tools that's online for like $20, the difference is incredible. Even if you think, like, if you produce, you do everything yourself, giving it to someone like him makes, like, the first time you'll do it, I pretty much guarantee you'll never not do it after that.
Yeah. Well,
it's
exactly right.
Almost.
Well, you're exactly right, because as a musician, you're very meticulous about like how your song sounds. And you're exactly right. Once you go and you get that finished product, it's hard to go away. It's just the same as I always bring up the example of selling hoodies. It's like if one time you go to a guy who manufactures the hoodie you want to make, and the first one he gives you is, you can feel it. Wow, this is really high quality, but like, this is exactly like, you can't then, even if it costs more, you can't then go back to some shitty version because you know what the best of your product could be. And then that's why, like, so much of what we preach is through example or through practice. Like, I tell you to focus on one song at a time and focus on your old music first, because I made 17 songs in a really, really nice really nice studio and spent a ton of money on mixing, mastering, and getting it all done. And I didn't think about how to market it after. And I put out a whole album and it all went to nothing. And if I had learned how to string this out, and it would have, I had 17 songs or something, it would have been better to have 7 that were really, really good and promote the hell out of them than it would be to have 17.
Even if you took those 17 and promoted them, released one at a time, when you had the money to put behind it. It doesn't even have to be every 2 weeks or 3 weeks. No one knows. If you released one this week and you had money next week, cool. Number 2. And then didn't have money for 7 weeks, put out number 3. And what you're doing is creating the background and preparing so that when you do have the audience, you can release an album later on to people who actually care. And really, I don't know if I've talked about this recently, but albums aren't what they used to be. Albums used to be something that labels made because it was cheaper to get a lot of music on a CD and have to ship it out. You don't want to release one CD at a time and ship it out, and people don't want to buy and risk it every time. So they'd rather buy an album with 30 songs and hope they like 5.
Right.
Labels would rather sell an album because they could put 30 songs on it, and that's easy. That's get as many as you can on an album. Compared to now, we're really in a singles and EP world where they're not selling physical copies. There's no overhead to store it. It's no different than selling sweatshirts is what selling CDs was. It takes up space. It costs money. And you have to buy shelving space in these stores.
And you have to produce the product.
Yeah, you have to make it.
First you get the audio file. Right, yeah.
CD Baby was such a big deal because they made the product. They're not doing that anymore. No one's doing that anymore. And so albums became a thing. People want an album. Oh, it's my first album. It's not the same anymore. I guess within 5 years, everyone who signs a record deal is going to sign to a certain number of songs, not a certain number of albums.
Do you think it will be an amount of time? Not because your singles are getting shorter.
They're getting shorter. I don't think.
But like,
this is a psychology
we want
reason.
4 hours worth of music, recorded music.
Maybe
from you, whether it's an album
based
or
off of. Because the issue with that is, okay, I'm gonna make a song like Pink Floyd, the medley.
Yeah, right.
There you go. I've got 4 hours of music right there. What they're going to do is it's going to be a number of songs in total. They're not going to, and obviously they have final say in terms of when you release, how many you release at once, stuff like that. There will be a requirement on albums, but it's not going to be like it is now. Right now, albums, they pretty much have minimums. Everyone signs these deals and like, nope, we need 20 songs on an album or 18 songs on an album. It has to run for 2 hours and 30 minutes, 2 to 2.5. Kind
of like a movie.
Yeah,
it's got to be at least 90 minutes.
These deals are like it's what we're going to see the industry go to is you're going to sign a deal. It's going to be 400 songs over the course of 5 years. If you don't hit it, it automatically extends to another 2 years or 3 years. And it's going to make it's very easy to rush an album out. It's a lot harder to rush out singles and get them approved. So right now, what you used to see is an album would have 1 or 2 hit songs, I'd say. So if you switch over to a singles world, you're not going to be able to rely on 1 or 2 hit songs because they're going to want something good every time. And labels are going to shift to that because they're going to get more value from these artists who sign than an album. Signing for 7 albums over the course of 5 years or 8 years is not much. Record labels make money, but they can make a lot more money requiring you to release 1 song every 2 months over the next course of 8 years with their final approval and budgeting, everything. And it also costs less money Clearing one
Yep.
song is a lot easier than clearing 20 to get it out. I wouldn't be surprised at time. I'm sure there's time requirements. There's time requirements now. Um, I it would be interesting. I bet you someone out there will have a contract that says, "Yep, 400 total minutes of released music."
Mm-hmm.
But it'll also say like it has to be at least this many songs too. That way, it's not just here's 2 songs, 200 minutes apiece.
Right. Yeah. Right. Well, and the thing like I want to wrap it back to is as the independent artist, if you're caught between, okay, well, I can either like do 15 songs on my own, or I can do 8 and have somebody professional mix and master them, do that. I can almost guarantee that doing the 7 or 8 professionally will be more beneficial to you than having 15 done okay. And I think one last thing, even if you are a good engineer and you mix your stuff, it's valuable to have a third party, a third set of ears or a second set of ears do the mastering. Because just like writing an essay, you want to have somebody else proofread it, because you're just so used to your words and your voice that you might miss that little thing that somebody else, just because it's a different set of eyes, will see it right away.
Yeah, and I would also say it costs money to be successful in the industry, and that's what we always say. People sign record labels because it costs money. Don't try to get 8 full songs mixed mastered with a video for each and a budget to promote each all up front. You'll never release your music. That's asking to save a lot of money. The reports are right now that record labels for a album average between, for a low end, $100,000 to $250,000 on a marketing budget to promote a full album. So if you're releasing an album, realize it's going to cost a lot of money to promote the whole thing. Even if you were trying to do it for $500 a song, it gets expensive, because an album, even at 10 songs, that's at $5,000 all of a sudden. So think about
after making the songs.
Yeah, just to market it.
Right.
So
that's where Tony and I fucked up.
Yeah, artists need to think about the full budget for a song includes marketing. It also includes mixing and mastering. Don't do it cheaply and then put a lot of money into marketing. Like make it's a full recipe, your business. That would be like hiring a cheap chef at a new restaurant and then marketing the hell out of it. It's not going to matter if you get them there once, because they're not coming back.
Yep. Now that's perfect segue into what I wanted to say. Just like a business, your music, your goal should be, how do I get this person to listen twice, not once? How do I get this person to want to come and listen to me without seeing an advertisement? Mm-hmm. And even if you have an amazing marketing strategy and you can get eyes and ears on your product, if the product then isn't high quality. And the thing was, I always fucked up because I was like, well, the lyrics are really, really good. The song, the idea of the song is really good. The mastering, it doesn't matter, because the song will carry it. Nope. Like if Bohemian Rhapsody was recorded on an iPhone, you'd be like, what the fuck is this? Right? But it's cool in the headphones, and that might not be the best example, but you get the idea. And I would love to hear Aaron's take on this, because I'm sure he would agree. It's better to have 3 or 4 really, really, really great sounding songs than it is to have 30 songs that sound okay or decent.